This is one of our favorite bedding area stands. We can't wait to sit on the property here. And you know, unfortunately with our bedding area stands, we don't get to sit in them a lot. And I like to say that typically I use my bedding area stands 15-20% of the time, but they account for about 70% of my bucks overall. A lot of morning hunts. So a lot of people look at it, it's my favorite stand. We have bedding area all around. We can get into this location from the bottom, get into the stand and blow our scent right off this point. By blowing it off the point, the deer are none the wiser. So we get in there in the morning. Now we have to get out of here is a big part. We have to go back down, cut around where we don't feel deer bedding, avoid this point. We have a switchgrass line up here, a lot of weeds, a lot of hinge cuts all the way along this trail, so that we have a lot of regeneration, hardwood regeneration for the deer. Plenty of food up here, plenty of browse. We have an aspen cutting right over here. We're hoping to get some grouse in this area actually, and some pheasant, because there's a big food plot up there a couple hundred yards away. But we can't get in here and hunt a large majority of the time. So when do we hunt this stand? You have your favorite bedding area stand. You always want to be on the edge of that bedding area, by the way, not right out in the middle, because if you're in the middle, you're gonna blow out one side. Once you blow out one side, you basically have a 50-50 chance of shooting that buck at that time. And none of us are that good to say, I'm gonna go in and shoot that buck. He's going to be on this side of me in that bedding area, and I'm not gonna spook out that spot. Most of us don't have spots like that to waste, where we can just say, I'm gonna go in there, take a chance. If I don't shoot him, well, party's over, because I spooked everything downwind of me, maybe even that buck that I'm after, and he's gone. So I want to really discuss and look through the points of when to come into a bedding area stand. Let's look at early season. Now, early season, you might have indication that a buck is coming back in this point, and when you have a cool morning, you might see him coming through a location like this. If you have an indication by rubs, scrapes, trail cam photos, videos, that a buck is there, you might want to take a chance at him that early morning. But boy, it's got to be a pretty precise and definite movement for me to go in there and take a chance, especially in one of my favorite stands. Don't want to blow any stand out, but boy, when it really comes to some of these, they're really sacred, because they produce so many good bucks and so many good buck opportunities. So I don't want to come in here unless in the early season, unless I have a strong indication that buck is already here and he's in those summer patterns. Maybe he's going through an ag field a half mile away, quarter mile away, right at daybreak, filters his way through the food plot, and then he's here. Maybe in your property, you're waiting for deer to come off distant food sources. They're coming through a bunch of brush, maybe some hunting pressure, and then they're coming through an oak flat before they go to a bedding area. I can think of a buck I shot on my buddy Ross's property back in 2012. Like that, where they come in from long distance, ag fields, coming through woods that were kind of pressured, and then going through an oak flat to go to bedding. And it was probably an hour and a half after daylight where I shot that one back in Michigan. Nice bow buck. So really have to have those ingredients in order to hunt it opening day. Now when you get into the October lull takes place whenever you apply hunting pressure. So for those states open on September 1st, a lot of them experience October lull September 10th, because they apply a bunch of pressure and all of a sudden the buck movements and patterns change. Michigan, October 1st. That's the true traditional October lull. That begins the 5th, 6th, 7th of October, because a whole bunch of hunting pressure is applied on October 1st and the October lull begins. That's also the time where bucks are making their shift. They're moving into their fall patterns. What I see when they're moving into their fall patterns, it's more that traditional pattern where they're not moving a lot during the daylight. They move under the cover of darkness. You're lucky if you have that mature buck hitting your land within a half hour, hour of daylight, or a major food source on your property, maybe even a little hunting plot. You're lucky if he has him hitting your plot even an hour after it gets dark, because that means he's close. He didn't travel too far. But bottom line is, you're not going to get in there in the afternoon because he's already there. You don't know where he's at. You don't know where deer are at. That's the difference with a morning stand. Morning stands, at least you have the advantage. You've been there for several hours. You can see around you. You know where deer are bedded. You know which way to avoid. If they're feeding and they're passing through, then you can get out. So the October lull is really, really tough, because a lot of times they're already there in the morning. You can't hunt the afternoon. So I never hunt my morning stands in the October lull. Fast forward to the pre-rut. Pre-rut, the end of October, when there's a cold front and you know deer are on the move. It's supposed to be what, Dylan, 97 today?
Yeah.
96 degrees, it's horrible. It's sweaty right now, it's hot, and it's only like 10:30 in the morning. So we had major rains come through finally after this drought. Bottom line is, Deer react to weather. We don't see a lot of big bucks under these conditions. We notice during the summer on our trail cameras, you guys should pay attention to this too, pay attention to it during the fall. When you have major weather come through and the conditions get a lot colder, then those big bucks will be on the move. It happens every time like clockwork. That's when we see the big bucks during the summertime. They're taking a cruise from the neighbors. They're not gonna cruise over here from a half mile from their summer hangouts, get their picture taken when it's really, really sweltering hot like it is right now today. They have to be close in order on these hot days for them to be here. And frankly, during the summertime, they shouldn't be close if you have a really good whitetail property, because most great whitetail properties are more fall and winter related, not summer related. Fall food, fall cover, which is high stem count browse like we have in this point. That's when those bucks should be moving in October. When it hits into the pre-rut, that's a time where you get that first cold front where it's in the low 30s, high 20s. I call it that first toe numbing morning. For us, it's 25th through the end of the month of October. For someone down in southern Ohio, maybe Kentucky, over to Kansas, that might be the first week, 10 days of November, a little bit later down there. But bottom line is, when you see those conditions happening, that's when we head to this morning stand. And that pattern of our hunting this stand or morning stand doesn't change until after the rut. And so we'll get about 3 weeks where we can really take a good look at this stand. If we see the sign, if we see the buck activity back here, and the winds are good, then we're gonna come back here and take a really nice long sit in the morning. And because bucks are moving through this point, it's more of a pasture area too, where they bed on these benches down below, and they're going out to that food source, might even be a good all-day stand. And then we don't have to worry about getting out and spooking deer. We just blow our scent off the steep face behind me. But when we come in here to hunt, we wanna have a good indication the deer are here. What's great about coming in the pre-rut, you don't know if they're out in the fields a half mile away, a mile away on someone else's property, but largely because of the cooler temperatures, they're very active in the pre-dawn hours. That means they could be somewhere else. They're not just laying back here. They're moving, they're putting on a lot more miles, even if it's only in a 10-acre area. So there's a lot less of a chance that they're right in front of your stand when you come in here in the morning. So not only a great time to see bucks moving all morning long, all the way through lunchtime. We always know when the pre-rut hits, because on our water holes, we'll all of a sudden go from getting buck pictures right before dark, maybe sometimes someone passing through in the morning, like early morning. We'll get pictures at all of a sudden 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll see those bucks moving October 27th in a cold front. We'll know that they're really on their feet, they're getting thirsty, and they're hitting those water holes. That's a lot of times how we tell exactly when the pre-rut begins, which is the same time every year. So we'll hit this for about 3 weeks. And then sometimes we'll take a chance on a stand like this for an all-day gun season opening day sit. But once it gets to the second and third day, those deer are really pressured if you have a lot of pressure around you. So likely they're already here that second day when you come in the morning. Sometimes we get away with it during the second rut, which is about 30 days after the peak rut of your first rut. So around here, early December sometime, right around December 1st to December 10th, 12th, we'll get a really good second rut. That's also an opportunity to come back here and hunt the morning. When you get into late muzzleloader, bow season in December and January, we don't hit our morning stands like this unless it's a real transition area back in the cover, not centered in bedding area like it is right here, because the likelihood that they're already here, and a lot of times bedding during the coldest time of the day, which is right at daybreak, is high. So you come into a stand like this, you spook the deer right at daybreak. And so that's why really we're looking at that 3-week window of rut, whatever that timing is in your area. And down in the south, it might be that you think these does are coming into estrus. So in this little island of cover over here, you see that every year in late December, and that's that time you go take a chance on a morning sit. But when you get into the north 2/3, half of the country where it's more traditional, solid, dependable rut, you're looking at that 3-week window. Maybe your opening day at gun season, where you're coming in and sitting all day. Maybe a chance in that second rut, or maybe even a third rut. But outside of that, this stand sits vacant. But when we come in here, we know we have a high percentage chance of shooting a big buck. And that's why you really want to exercise a lot of patience. Know that this probably isn't the best stand for a opening day, October lull. Wait until it's the best time. This is one of those 50% sits, I call it, 40% sit, where the weather's great, the wind is great. You save this stand till the perfect time, sometime during the rut. You come back in here, you expect success, and you find it about 40-50% of the time. Over the years, that's what I've found, where I'm targeting a certain mature buck back here, and you'll get them about half the time if you let the conditions heat up, you exercise some patience, and you allow the stand to really age like a fine wine and be ready for you when you finally come in here for a bedding morning sit sometime during the rut this season. I appreciate you guys watching the YouTube channel, but I don't know if everyone knows everything that we have to offer, whether it's on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, our website, or WHS Wildlife Blends, our seed company. Also Instagram you can check out. I'm very active on Instagram, putting strategies on there, photos of what we do every day. Much more active there than Facebook. But our seed, web classes, books, clients, articles. I have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, everything whitetail strategy. Of course, we have hats on there, and then make sure to check us out on Instagram again. But lots of stuff to offer. We're always coming out with new things, and this isn't the end of it. We have more things coming soon. Make sure to check us out.